Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast 123 Eyes on Me. Here we talk about all things education, what's working, what's not, and ways to improve the system. The goal here is very simple: help the kids succeed. My name is Aaron, aka Mr. Jackson, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Ms. Michelle Reed. Please give us an introduction.
Sure. Again, Michelle Reed. I am the Chief Operating Officer for Guilford County Schools. Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you for being here. It means a lot. So, as you know, the goal is to help the kids succeed. We have a lot of good things happening within the system, but at the same time, there's a lot of things we need to resolve. Before we get into the nitty gritty, I'd like to start off with a game called One for One. I'll say one word, and then I'll just ask that you say one that comes to mind. I have a total of 4 words. You ready?
Sure.
All right. The first word is school.
School, students,
All right. The next one is students.
teachers,
All right. Third one is money.
not enough.
Mm. And then the last one is time.
Time is short.
Sure. Okay, good. When it comes to money, why did you choose that one?
I have been in the school district for about a year. In a previous life, I worked for a different public entity, but I'm noticing that unfortunately our funds are low, but we're asked to move mountains within school districts, K-12, quite frankly. And I think COVID has exposed the amount of underfunding that school districts get. So I think that it really probably resonates with many of your listeners.
No matter what county or even state you're in for that matter, there's always so much that needs to be done. And even going to the time aspect, there's little time. And as you mentioned, the money is very limited.
Mhm.
For lack of a better word, it sucks, that we can't really stretch out that money as far as we want to.
Mhm.
Programs don't get what they really need. It may
Mhm.
be enough to supplement them for a little while, but then, it's back to the drawing board.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to the system as a whole, what is one thing that you really enjoy doing?
I love seeing the mission and the passion that everyone has for the goals that we have set. We really are impassioned about teaching every student in an equitable way. And I think that resonates not just with the teachers, but all the way up to the cabinet and the superintendent. All of the systems are really about the mission of teaching and educating students and making them successful in whatever they venture on to do post K 12.
They really are the future, whether people want to say that or not. The next generation is very important because, when we're long and
Absolutely.
gone, they're the ones who are taking over. We definitely need that passion and desire to help them grow.
Absolutely.
Was there anything else that you really, really enjoy or something you would even do for free?
I don't know if I would do it for free, but I think I think that for me, behind the scenes, just seeing all the opportunities that we have to make change happen in different ways. And so I just, just as an example, we have systems that we may have just been leaning on for years and years and bringing a fresh perspective from maybe other things that may not have been thought of before to the district has really been refreshing because I feel as though my voice is really valued, but more so my ideas are really thought of as, opportunities for us to grow and change effectively, which again continues to really help student outcomes and also life outcomes for the little people that we are really passionate about.
Definitely. What's one thing within this system that you notice needs fixing?
Yeah, well, I think the initial kind of answer is one. It's just the underfunding and the expectation that we're supposed to do so much with so little. If the value system is in place, then you pay for what you value, right?
Mhm.
And so as I go through in operations, I go through our schools and I have a different vantage point because I look at them all distinctly as buildings. I manage custodians, I manage all of our facility improvements. Also, I look at our technology and safety and security. And so I know firsthand historically where we may have not had the funding to support the needs of the district. And if you continue to underfund the operational side, it will eventually catch up to impacting your educational side because students may be sitting in classrooms that are hot because we have not effectively replaced whole HVAC systems, or sitting in a classroom that's cold because a boiler has gone down, or not, we are just now because of COVID a one-to-one school district, which all of our students now have a mobile device, a laptop or an iPad in their hands, but it should not have taken a global pandemic to allow us to say, and also funding from the federal government at that point, to say, you know what, we want to make sure that schools are able to open and educate. And so we're going to place this money in your hands. If you have to give us, umpteen millions of dollars or billions of dollar bills in order to, help with a ongoing systemic problem, that tells me that you knew it was a root cause and therefore you're not funding it effectively in the first place. So I think that's one thing about the holistic system, not just from a microcosm, i.e. Guilford County, but more of the funding sources as you go outside of that's global, right? From a federal government down to the state level, and so on, because we really want to make sure that if you value something that you're putting the money into it to continue to make it flourish.
Hmm. I definitely agree. And, I instantly think back to, well, the trickle down essentially. So it starts
Hmm.
from the top and it worked its way down. And as you mentioned, if something was passed, whether it be a bill or policy, whatever it may have been, and it's not for the benefit of the students or for schools, we may not
Hmm.
see that immediately, but over time we will see that.
Hmm.
If one person were to do something, so many years later, you finally see that happening. But whoever's in office in that moment, people who are ignorant don't understand that
Hmm.
they will blame that person, that individual. But I mean, it even goes into it's not just the president's. It may not be his fault. It's usually the team because that's one person.
Right.
Congress and representatives.
Congress and yep.
Exactly. And a lot of people just they fail to see that. Same thing for the system as well, which is the prime reason why I created this podcast, just to shine light on what's going on.
Hmm.
Because we have people like you who are really trying to make a change and they see the issue. It's not enough
Hmm.
money. I need more than this. And you're finally giving it to me now or giving it to the system because you're seeing this pandemic. It's just a shame that it takes something like that, something that drastic to finally say, let me go ahead and see what's going on. Why are these kids not getting their education?
Absolutely. I was just going to say, if you think about it, those entities that you just talked about, either they're state funded. So if you take charter schools, for instance, charter schools are identified as from the state, but they actually, when student populations in a county are identified and go to those schools, they actually reduce the amount of funding that the public school receives and shifts it back over to the charter school.
Mm,
In a private school setting, they are revenue producing. So they have all types of programs allowing them to expand and really take, the abilities for them to educate, provide the right teachers and the right curriculum and various other things. And when you look at our funding model, and I always follow the money, right? When you look at our funding model, last year we received $4 million in capital funding. We have over 12.7 million square feet of real estate.
mm,
126 schools. We have to spread those dollars through 126 schools. One HVAC project to do is about 7 million to 10 million. And that was in 2019 dollars. So how do you really effectively, improve your facilities and AKA your student outcomes with your children if you're not looking at it as a valuable source or resource for the community?
mhm. Yeah, you can also see it as, are we gonna give every single student something subpar or
Hmm.
mediocre, whether it be
Right.
technology, or are we gonna give the best performing schools the best of what we have and the others get nothing or they stay where they're at, not
Hmm.
enough books or whatever it may be. And then that's discrimination right there. Oh, their grades weren't that high, they're not doing so well. They don't want to be in school, gang affiliation, whatever it may be. But you have to look at why are those things happening.
Hmm.
So it's just a shame that it's just seen that way. I believe the biggest issue is unity. I've said this
Hmm.
before, and I feel like if we all focus on one issue at a time, things
Hmm.
will actually get done. Because if you just, like you said, the school is given this amount of money, some amount of dollars, and they want you to solve all these problems, but it's like you may have one vision, but someone else, not even in your field, but who has power, board member, superintendent, Congress, whoever it may be,
Hmm.
they have a completely different vision. Still a very good, vision, which will have, a great outcome for the students, but you're playing tug of war. You want to have one thing succeed, they want to have something else completely different. You talk to
Absolutely.
people, you reach out, you have your team or people behind you, and they have theirs. At the end of the day, you're tugging on two different policies that are going towards the same cause. So why not put one policy to the side? You all focus on that one. And when I say focus, really let it flourish. Take it to its limits. The
Hmm.
first thing I'm thinking of is teacher pay. instead of, teachers getting that 5% raise, if other representatives or anyone at that round table would come together and say, you know what, let me go ahead and step in their shoes for a moment and really see why is it that they want 15 to 20%? Why aren't they fine with
Right.
the five? If they've been in those shoes, if they've been teaching, if they see what they saw, they would actually, vote as well and say, you know what, let me go ahead and just make it happen because my vote is keeping them away.
Hmm.
Because as soon as that issue is resolved, that's it. It's not going to come back.
Right.
It can survive on its own. Let's go to the next issue and go from there.
Absolutely. I think, just pay inequities in general. If you think about the teachers are one of the lowest paid professions,
Hmm.
but they are producing the highest paid professions.
So ironic.
So it's kind of a oxymoron to pay them less or not even at a living wage nor battle that as a fundamental right, right? Because in essence, if you don't have teachers to teach the students, then maybe they won't have the robotics, capability to build a Microsoft or, the innovative opportunities to have those even encounters to think Facebook was even possible. So,
Mhm.
I think that our holistically value system may be challenged by even thinking about teachers on the level of, that we value entertainment, even
Mhm.
within the system, as it will. Because quite frankly, we should put enough value on the people that are educating the future leaders of the world.
Definitely. And there's so many different issues within the system. Good things as well. I'm not saying it
Hmm.
sucks.
Hmm.
But one thing that I'm battling with is where do I want to actually put my time and effort in?
Hmm.
Do I join a
Hmm.
teacher union? Do I, fight the fight of more pay? There's just so many issues. Or do I go over here with other community leaders and say we need to increase parent involvement? Because I'm one
Right.
person, I can only do so much.
Mhm.
So that's one thing I'm battling with personally, but I'll just dive deeper into the whole pay for now. I know it's pretty cliche, but the fact that it's happening and a lot of people reside with this and they hear it all the time, we can just run with that one.
Mhm.
So when it comes to teacher pay, I know that recently there was that 5% increase, I think back in 2020 or 2020, around COVID when it happened. Teachers were working from home. A lot of them left, mainly the veterans because they were older. They're like, I don't know how to work technology. And, that's fine. That wasn't
Mhm.
really in there.
In their wheelhouse.
Exactly. You can
Yeah.
call it that, their wheelhouse. It's crazy to think that, "Oh, why would they leave?" And people don't really look at the details. That's another issue that we go through. People just see the bigger picture and they think it's so simple to fix, but it's
Right.
not that easy. So communication is definitely key. But yes, so on the topic of finances and raising teacher pay,
Mhm.
if we were to, and this is me personally, if we were to raise, this is just a ballpark number, if we were to raise pay to 18%, I believe that giving that pay finally will keep more teachers in, so their retention will stay high. More teachers will come in after they
Sure.
graduate, whether it be
Mhm.
lateral or they went to school for education, and we won't have to cover as many. So I do believe the pay will solve a number of issues. How do you feel about that?
I think that pay is one of the areas that we have a great opportunity. I think culture, if you think about attracting top talent, as I used to work in higher ed, and people are less and less making decisions to go into service professions.
Mm,
I think that that holistically is a detriment to our society. But also, if you think about, we're not going to continue to attract the talent that wants to, continue in those professions. So you're going to lose more and more teachers. You're going to lose more and more janitors and custodians and food nutrition workers and all the people who make a school district run,
mhm,
which means ultimately the foundational years that you have to even get to a higher paying job, go on to higher ed or start a business, you won't even have the quality education that you need in order to start those businesses. So ultimately, if you don't fund, it's like a cost benefit analysis, right? If you think about the outcomes or the benefits of K-12 education and all the things that go into it, while it might cost a high dollar in the output, in the upfront years, the residual income that the United States as a whole benefits from those foundational years is insurmountable. So therefore, the people who contribute in those valued jobs should be valued.
mhm, right. I think a good way to attack one issue is to see how many different issues it will resolve.
Mhm.
That goes into my last question. What is it that you're really trying to accomplish within your role at the moment?
That's a great question. I think for me, one of the main accomplishments that I'd like to see happen under my tenure is an awareness of state and local government level of the implications of underfunding K-12 education, specifically in the operational area.
Hmm.
If you look at the amount of student population who may be shifting to charter and or privatized education, there's other opportunities or options for them. But should it be? And it is because what is the root cause for even creating the other opportunities if we are providing a valuable service as public educators to the community?
Hmm.
So that's one. And then really raising the understanding that service is still valued, public service is still valued, and certain positions that may not be attractive today to the youth need to start to deem, vocational skills as a avenue for people to get into. It's really sad that we don't value the people who are unseen and fixing things, and but they're necessary.
Hmm.
And we really need to raise awareness that much of those functional things that you take for granted may one day go away. And so, really raising the understanding that vocational skills and those types of skill sets are needed within a school district, especially. Otherwise, the school district can't run. You won't have lights, you won't have water.
Hmm.
There's various things, you won't have trash taken out. And so it just impacts our ability to operate holistically as a system. So I really want to make sure that we're raising both of those things, both to the community, but also garnering the support and awareness at the state and hopefully federal level.
Hmm. I agree. And what's beautiful about this is raising awareness is usually something that you can do for free if people take the time to really do it.
And I think if we all take on the mantra of what's right, not what feels good or might be popular at the time, but what's right based on the mission of wanting kids to have great outcomes as a foundation, then many of these things fall into place.
Yeah, that was great. I like to end off with something from my guests. So, do you have any words of encouragement or advice for the listeners?
Look at your value system and see, what makes sense for you, and make sure that you treasure those who may be around you because they may not be around as long as one would hope because time is fleeting. So making sure that you spend time with your loved ones and make sure that you put the main thing, I think is the most important.
I love that. That's the quote of the day. Keep it. Well, thank you, Michelle. This was great. Your perspective, really did touch me. Your wisdom, definitely very helpful. So, thank you for your insight. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, anytime.